Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the WTF Steel City Underground Week 13 podcast. My name is Terry Fletcher. So we've had definitely an interesting week, and I'm just going to get right to it in the Cardinals-Steelers game. So I see that a lot of the TV pundits are giving the Steelers an F. Well, and somebody said we just signed a lower grade if one was available. Well, we're definitely outplayed. There's no question. And a lot of shooting ourselves in the foot with penalties, poor execution. We had a really tough time with our center, Mason Cole's low snaps that led to fumbles that set up James Conner's game-winning touchdown run midway through the third quarter. But, you know, let's look at the situation. And I know there's a lot of, for some reason, Kenny Picket haters out there, and I don't get it. He doesn't turn the ball over, especially like Mitch Trubisky does. And so when you have a quarterback that doesn't throw interceptions, doesn't fumble, and he reminds me a little bit of Alex Smith, that, you know, the former Chief and former Redskin. He seems to be just a game manager. And is he the best quarterback out there? No. Is he the worst? No. But for those of you who are saying that you want somebody else, who would you rather have? And please don't tell me Justin Fields. I won't even listen to you, because that's a what the football thing. Come on, people. He does what he needs to do to win games. And we're still sitting at 7-5, fifth in the wild card spot. I don't know if that's going to last. Now I'm just hoping that Tomlin gets to continue with his game-winning season without having any season losses. But I definitely want to get to the playoffs, but we want to get Kenny back. And unfortunately, he had to have high ankle surgery, which basically was a stabilizing surgery. It's a surgery that doesn't take more than 20, 30 minutes. But he will be out 4 weeks. There's just no question to it. We definitely had also an unfortunate injury to inside linebacker Landon Roberts. That didn't help matters at all, because he is one of the tacklers that has most of the stats there. But to go into a game and lose 24-10 over from a 2-10 team, yeah. But remember, a 2-10 team that did not have Kyler Murray except for the last 2 games. And so when you've got your starting quarterback back, not that I think he's anything great either, but he's shifty. He's a starting quarterback. A lot different than having, no offense to Josh Dobbs, I love him, but having him for, the first 10 games or whatever it was. So anyway, that was a brutal, brutal loss. Pushed us down a little bit. We could have actually been competing for first place against the Ravens in the division. And it's still a tight race, especially with the Bengals last night in Monday Night Football coming away with that win against Miami. But again, quarterbacks are dropping like flies. Who have we lost this season? Talk about what the football and WTF. We've lost Aaron Rodgers. We've lost Joe Burrow. They've lost Deshaun Watson. We've now lost for a period of time Kenny Picket. And now it's a possibility that the Jaguars have lost Trevor Lawrence. So, I mean, we're losing just, quarterback after quarterback. And when people say next man up, yes, next man up is fun to say, but it doesn't mean that it's the same thing as next man up for a linebacker or next man up for a position player. Quarterback is on the field and is the one that directs traffic and is the one that basically, makes or breaks your team. So it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward, especially playing one of the worst teams out there, which is New England Patriots right now. And, I know that they've got a similar record as Arizona, so this could be another trap game for us. But we've got Mitch Trubisky, that's already been named the starter. And we have a short week, so it's Thursday Night Football. And I'm going to be holding my breath that entire game, because there's going to be a ton of what the football moments. And if our defense doesn't pull it off, who knows what happens. So we're going to pray really hard, but let's have some positive out there. Let's really support the team. If you're a Steeler fan, support. So what happened in Indianapolis, Tennessee? That was in overtime. And unfortunately for the Titans, they fired their special teams coordinator after their loss to Indianapolis, 31-28. But their loss also was because of 2 block punts, 1 return for a touchdown. Nick Foles missed an extra point. Punter was hit, and he's now done for the season. Kicker had to replace him. And the backup quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, was the team's holder. Talk about a special teams nightmare. So, yeah, that was a fun, interesting game to look at. When I mentioned New England, the Chargers beat them, but, they've got some defensive problems too. Not only that, but everybody's always saying that Justin Herbert is like this amazing quarterback. No. He's, he's all right, but the score was 6-0 over New England. So, and again, on Thursday, we're going against Bailey Zappi instead of Mac Jones. I'm not really sure who's exciting there. But again, looking at starting quarterback injuries, Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, Kenny Pickett, Anthony Richardson, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Derek Carr, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, oh my gosh. Talk about an issue with starting quarterbacks. That there's just no what the football moment over that. And Atlanta over the Jets. So the Jets, everyone keeps talking about when, there's a possibility that Aaron Rodgers come back. Why would he return? Why would he return with that offensive line? They've got Trevor Siemian in there now, and instead of Boyle, who was instead of Zach. And so they can't seem to figure out who their quarterback is right now. They're just putting everybody in to see what's going on. So it's really sad over there. So the fact they only lost, by, 5 points, that's actually a win to me. I actually think the Super Bowl goes through Miami. 45-15 over Washington, even though they were playing a bad team. It's 45 points. That's just scorching teams. And they even had some issues on defense, but I would say it's through Miami. I don't really believe in the Chiefs right now, even though I know a lot of people are like, well, you can't count them out. Well, sometimes you can. You've got a Patrick Mahomes, a $500 million man that isn't perfect, and he's throwing picks, and it seems like the last 5 games, and it's at worst time. So he's definitely a what the football guy. Cleveland luckily lost, which helps the Steelers in the race again for playoff. So the Rams beat them 36-19, and they suddenly actually looked pretty good. Matthew Stafford did a great job against the Browns defense, but again, remember, they're dealing with the backup quarterback, and who was it? It was their third quarterback now, because their backup quarterback was in concussion protocol. And who did they sign 2 weeks ago? Joe Flacco. That was the weirdest thing ever. Now, he actually did okay at the beginning. I mean, he's got an arm. Let's not say he doesn't. He spent the first 11 weeks of the season on his couch, but he threw 254 yards and 2 touchdowns. But his fourth quarter throw and his interception, we knew it was going to happen. So right now with the Browns, they're playing musical chairs at quarterback. Who knows what they're gonna be able to do? But it helps the AFC North, so I'm here for it. The most surprising, I think, game this past weekend had to be San Francisco Philadelphia, 42-19. I'm surprised it wasn't the nighttime game. 49ers just blew the doors off Eagles, and they did it in Philadelphia. And I don't think the Eagles, I think I've said this before, I don't think they played their best football, and they definitely didn't play their best football on Sunday. If you actually take a look at that game, they still have the best record in football, but it was not good. The offense didn't score touchdowns in the red zone in the first 2 possessions, and they come from behind in the second half. Isn't really a formula for victory, and they couldn't do it. And so the 49ers, they ran 47 plays, 452 yards, and turned out all 42 points in a 23-point win. It was absolutely crazy. And Deebo Samuel, wow. He's 3 touchdowns. Brock Purdy finished with 4 touchdown passes and a perfect passer rating. Yeah, San Francisco, the real deal. Brock Purdy had a little bit of struggles this year, but as somebody they chose to start last year, he's doing what he needs to do. But when we look at the Chiefs, and the Chiefs, again, I mentioned they lost. They lost to Green Bay. And Jordan Love, I don't know what he's doing out there, but he's doing something good, because 27-19 over Kansas City, that's pretty interesting. So he went 25-36, 267 yards, 3 scores. And I'm looking saying, who is this guy? Remember how long Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre? Well, he sat behind Aaron Rodgers, and he seems to be figuring it out at this point. So you can't really say anything bad right now about them. They're doing what they need to do to stay in it. Cincinnati 34-31 over overtime on Monday Night Football, and over Jacksonville. And again, it was so sad when they lost Trevor Lawrence to an ankle injury. Again, he got stepped on by one of his linemen, which was just horrible. They actually showed it on TV. I'm like, oh, ouch. No, we don't need to see that. And it was just really sad, because then when you've got CJ Beathard, their backup, they said he hadn't taken a snap in 2 years. So you can't really be a hater if somebody's going in cold off the bench and he hadn't taken a snap. No snap at all. And so he did try his best, but they just couldn't do it. And a missed field goal was just not okay. And the Bengals came off and won it. I was really hoping that they were going to lose it, but they're now 6-6, and who knows what happens in the AFC North there. I don't want to talk about Dallas 41 over 35. I said it. That's the end of that. But we had a lot of buys this week. I think the toughest thing for me is just when you go into a game, especially for the Steelers, and you just know you should win that game. 2-10 Cardinals. But when you see a record on a team and it's not really how they're playing, it's any given Sunday. And so James Conner, he really did what he needed to do, came into Pittsburgh, first time back, and kind of showed that he was a Pro Bowl running back. And the Steelers losing Kenny wasn't helpful, because, again, when we put in Mitch, he turns the ball over. And he's different than coming off the bench, because he does throw. He has been in a couple of times, and I don't know. Everybody says we should give Mason a shot. I agree, but with a short week and then playing the Patriots, it's just not going to happen. But we can't rule out that Bill Belichick could have something in store for us. Don't think he doesn't. Watch tape, understand that he's coming in with a backup. Of course, he's got a backup as well. And so once you hit the backup quarterback, your level of play goes down so bad. Just wait till we hear what Al Michaels is going to say on Thursday night. He's like, really? America's here for Mitch Trubisky and Bailey Zappi? That's what Thursday Night Football is? So let's just hope we pull out a win. We've got a winning record right now, and I say we because I am all in Steelers. We're at 7-5. We're 5th in the race. It's very tight in the AFC. Nobody's got it, locked up, except maybe Miami and how they're playing, but it's just very tight. So everyone take a look. I know I kind of leave out the Ravens, but I think at any given time they can make some bad decisions. So we'll see what happens on Thursday night. But that's it for me this week. Everyone, make it oh, wait. I have to bring up something. Did anybody take a look in the 49ers game at McCaffrey? So Christian McCaffrey had a flop. This was really funny. And one of the linebackers just kind of, barely tapped him. The official actually was laughing, put his arm around him, went, yeah, that's not happening. If you can read lips, he's like, yeah, that's not happening. But also, one thing you got to keep an eye on is Derek Carr has had a second concussion in a month. And that is definitely a what the football moment, because they're saying that he now has what they call a concussion problem. For those of us that have been watching football for years, Steve Young in the 90s had concussion problems, and that's ended his career. So it's a little different than ankles and shoulders and arms and things. You don't want to be messing with the brain there. But also on the Thursday Night Football Cowboys in Seattle, there was a total of 247 yards of penalties. Whoa, with a 41-35 game. And there was a safety in the Browns game where Flacco was 4th and forever, and he got sacked in the end zone. So Flacco's Flacco. I mean, he might have a good arm, but let's face it, when you're dealing with picking up somebody that's been sitting on the couch going, hey, you available? That's what you're going to get, somebody who's been sitting on the couch. So we'll see what happens as the things move forward. But a lot of interesting WTF moments in Week 13. So again, let me reiterate, thanks for listening, and we'll be back for Week 14 on the Steel City Underground WTF podcast.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.